Those owners all have to go. They gotta go. You already gave them a warning. You already spoke to them. They came up with the Rooney Rule. 20 years later, almost a generation later, they still changed nothing. It's one. It's less than, it used to be 3. Now it's 1. So you're going backwards. So what you going to sit down at the table and talk to them about? You're going to talk to them and tell them, you know what? Yo, you got another 20 years to have maybe two armed coaches. Nah, take those teams from them. And I'm going by law. I'm not saying like just run in there and take these teams for them. If you have a business that's practiced racist, racist practices, and is documented, that business can be shut down by the federal government.
If you want to see good news, you don't see on regular TV, from another perspective, something relative to your needs. And we gonna have deep subjects, and we gonna turn the lens. And there's no topic we won't skip, so please don't miss weekly. Tune in to weekly to check in. Weekly check in. Weekly check in. Weekly check in. Tune in to weekly. Tune in. Check in. Weekly check in.
Very rarely, and I want to engage more, do we cover sports and entertainment on Arc Republic? But honestly, that's like where I got a lot of my, my grit in is one, being a competitor for years, as well as being an entertainment journalist. We are going to talk about the most popular and most profitable, well, other than hip hop, industry, the sports industry in the world, the sports industry, and in particular in the United States. We're going to talk about the NFL. The NFL and the NBA are the top grossing sports, what do you call this? Industries or clubs in the United States. So last week, Brian Flores, was fired as being head coach of Miami Dolphins NFL team. But last week he filed a class action lawsuit in Manhattan courts, citing 3 organizations, Miami Dolphins, or making complaints against 3 organizations, Miami Dolphins, Denver Broncos, and the New York Giants. In this 58-page complaint, he says that the interview process for the Denver Broncos and the New York Giants was highly flawed. I'm really paraphrasing because I would like for you to frame it more, as well as in terms of the Miami Dolphins. He was asked to throw games in order to position the Dolphins to have better draft picks in the future seasons, which would have consequences for him as a coach because they would say he would be inept. He also, in the lawsuit, talks about or parallels the NFL with the plantation system that America got its capital to be one of the capital stalwarts in the world. And he goes into that. He has had several interviews about it. Flores, who is my brother, he's a first generation immigrant. What up, Flores? Welcome to America, as my dad would always say. Welcome to America. Basically said, I don't know, because he's up for some coaching jobs. And what the past that we do know about the NFL, Kaepernick and a whole bunch of people before Kaepernick is that when you make these statements or these political statements, you usually are not invited back in. He says he doesn't know if he will ever work again in the NFL, but this systemic change needs to stop. Brother Afrika, help me out. Let's talk about it.
My man Brian. Nah, what Brian is doing takes a lot of guts, man. It takes a lot of courage to be able to come out and basically at first stand on your own against these billionaires. But man, Brian is like all of us, man. Brian, how do I explain this? Most white people and most people in America don't understand they're racist. Like, I'm gonna say it again, man. White people, by and large, all white people, by and large, are racist because they're socialized to be racist from the day that they're born. Even all of us. You see, like, I don't say like you and I, like the average black person can be a racist, because to be a racist, you have to be in support of institutions of white supremacy, and you got to benefit from them. So like to be a racist, like we could be bigots. We could think like, yo, we're better than other people because of our race, like because our hair and all that. We could be bigots. But to be a racist, it comes with being able to control people, control how they live, their livelihood. And all of us, when we go to school, we know these schools are conditioning tools. Our schools, the media, everything. So if you never read anything outside of what they give you, what white supremacy gives you, you're going to be exactly what they want you to be. And that's what Fanon said. Brian said that the New York Giants, were supposed to interview him for the job, but they gave it to somebody else before they even interviewed him. That's with the Giants. Now, the reason why that's wrong, because there's a Rooney rule. There's a rule that each NFL team has to interview a minority candidate before the job is given to anybody. The rule was put in because Johnny Cochran in 2002, like 20 years ago, threatened to sue the NFL over their racist practices. He said the NFL was racist. They didn't have enough black coaches with all the players. And he went on, he named a few different things. Fast forward 20 years later, I doubt there's anybody you can find, any black person that would say the NFL is not racist, or any sane person, anybody that's looking at it being sincere, looking at the NFL and its practices. I doubt there's anybody that's going to tell you they're not racist. But if you're practicing racism, it's supposed to be illegal to even have a business, to even conduct business. They got rid of the coach in the NBA, the owner of the team in the NBA, the Clippers, because they say he was racist, and they couldn't have that in the NBA, in their in their company. Everybody know the NFL racist. We know the owners are racist. There's no doubt Jimmy Jones, the guy that the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, man, he's a full-blown redneck if I ever seen one. Like, we know these teams are racist. We saw what they did to Kaepernick. Where was Brian Flores? Did Brian take a knee during Kaepernick when Kaepernick was struggling, fighting against all these people?
No.
Did Brian ever take a knee? Nah, Brian never took a knee. But you see, I kind of don't blame Brian because he's been socialized. He grew up in Brooklyn. I saw the interview with him. He said his whole life he's been in football. Football is the reason that he got out of Brooklyn, where there was crime, poverty, all these things. Football, not his intellect, none of that. Football is what gave him a pass out of there. And he wanted to have integrity for the game. He wants the game to be pure. That's one of the reasons why he's filing the lawsuit, because they wanted him to cheat. Now, going back to the Dolphins, they wanted him to throw games. And he said no. The owner came to him. And met with him. How do I say this? Because I don't want to get sued if I'm wrong. But he was supposed to meet with Tom Brady. They were supposed to meet with Tom Brady for them to talk about him coming over to the Dolphins. And Brian Flores walked away from the interview because he said this is tampering. I can't do this. If I do this, I'm giving the NFL reasons to come down on the club and come down on me. So he walked away like, I don't want to be part of that. Then the owner came back again and asked him and told him, hey, look, if you throw these games, if you lose these games, take a vacation, go somewhere. If we lose this game, we're going to get a better draft position, and I'm going to give you $100,000. You see, Brian whole time, first generation, growing up in America, he probably just thought all I got to do is do my work, just be the best coach. You see, he didn't understand. I think he didn't understand all this other backhanded stuff that you got to do to stay in Massa House. I don't know if he really understood that, but he stood his ground. So they asked him, so why are you filing the lawsuit, and what do you hope to gain from this? He said, I hope to change the minds of the owners. See, anybody that done a study on our condition, on our material condition on this land, on these shores, no, you're not going to get these people to change their minds. You're not going to get the plantation owners to change their minds. You're not going to get none of these people, these oligarchs. They're not going to change their mind because it is a business. It is a business. They're making money, commodity, off watching other human beings go out there and mess up their brains, hurt themselves, break their bodies apart. They're watching. They're making profit off the blood of over 75% on workforce, which are all Black. and they need to keep the hierarchy in those industries. They have to keep the coaches together. Everything has to be on white supremacy terms. You see, but like Brian Flores don't understand this. He think he's just working on a level playing field, and they're showing them like you a nigga. They're showing them you could win whatever games you want to win. You could have whatever integrity you want to have. No, this is how business is ran. Yo, why don't they take the NFL from the owners? These owners don't need to own these leagues. You see, like when I'm speaking, I'm speaking from a different perspective than the normal. Nowhere else are you going to hear anybody say this. Yo, the practice, NFL, the corporation, the business model practices white supremacy and racism. There's only one coach out of 32 teams in the NFL with 70% black players. It's been that way for decades. When what's his name filed a lawsuit, Johnny Cochran, there were 3 black coaches. 20 years later, there's 1 black coach. If you had a quarter and I had a quarter and we flipped it, let's say 100 times, yo, I'm not gonna get 1% out of 100, and you get 1% out of 100. It's gonna be 40, 60, 45, 55, 50. Like it's gonna be like kind of close, but it's 1 black head coach. You cannot tell me this has just happened by happenstance. That's one incident. We're not even talking about the Kaepernick. We're not talking about the other coaches that got fired after they did a good job 1 year. We're not going to even have we don't even need to have none of that conversation. Just the hiring practices alone tell you it's racist. I mean, so like I'm gonna come back again, just like they fired Donald Sterling in the NBA and they got rid of him for having a racist for practicing racism in his company, whatever. They can do the same thing to all the NFL owners. They don't need to own these teams. You could buy them out and give them to the states. Let that money go back to the citizens, to the taxpayers that fund these stadiums, because we actually fund these industries. They get tax abatements. They get politicians to write the tax code in ways that benefit them, while the people have to drive on bridges that are falling. I mean, like all these things are connected. They're all held together. So when Brian Flores says, I'm suing them so we could get more jobs, as a black liberationist, I'll be like, you got courage, but it's aimed the wrong way. You're begging for them to let you back inside the house. You begging to be a house Negro again. No, they should be gone.
A house Negro with better victuals and better clothes, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I want to not add, but just give you just kind of more context in this ESPN article. According to them, that the lawsuit alleges, or Flores alleges in the lawsuit, that the team's owner Ross pressured him. Stephen Ross proposed him an incentive that said every game to lose games, and every game that he lost, he would give him $100,000. The reason being was that actually Flores was having a lot of success in building up the Dolphins, and so Ross was upset because it was actually messing up their chances in the draft pick. As well, Ross attempted to pressure, according to Flores, Ross attempted to pressure him to recruit a quarterback, but the way in which it was going to be done, it would violate tampering rules. Thank you so much for tuning in to Arc Republic. If you like what you see and you like what you hear, you can actually keep this mothership going. How? You can make a tax-deductible donation in several ways. 1, Cash App us at Arc Republic Media. And you can also go on our website, arcrepublic.com/donate. As well, you can also donate to our fiscal sponsor and our sister organization at Black Farmers Index, that is Cash App, or also go onto their website, blackfarmersindex.com. We are 2 Black women-owned media organizations who share our profits so folk can thrive. Sorry.
But Brian is not connected it to all of us. Brian is connected it to himself and coaches. I mean, like that's where he's leaving it. When you listen to him speak, he's begging for them to allow him into their space. He's not begging for all of us. Like that's why, and that's part of the reason why the story hasn't caught fire yet because people don't feel attached to it. They don't have an emotional feeling to it. Like when you listen to him speak, he's just asking to be allowed back into the circle. He's not saying, yo, America's racist. The process is racist. Everything we have to fight. I mean, we got to make everything. No, he's not doing none of that. He just, yo, please let me back in.
Right.
Yo, the player that they were trying to get him to recruit was Tom Brady.
That's okay.
They were trying to get him to recruit Tom
the Great
Brady.
White Hope.
The Great White Hope to bring him in. And he wouldn't speak to him because he said that was illegal. That's tampering. He couldn't do that. I mean, and the person that told him about the Giants job was Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is the coach of the Patriots. He worked under Bill Belichick. And him and the person that the Giants hired had the same first name, Bill. I mean, Brian. Yeah.
Oh!
So Bill did some senior citizen-ish. He did the same. he takes the wrong person. And he let you like, yo, you congratulations, you got the job. So Brian looking at it like, yo, I got to go interview with them like in 2-3 days, like on Friday or something. He was like, yeah, he like, how I already got the job. So he was like, clarify for me, coach, are you talking about Brian Flores or the other Brian? So the coach was like, oh, my bad, Belichick. Like, yo, my bad, I meant the other guy. He was like, yeah, he like, they already got their guy. So that showed clearly. Because for these teams to hire a coach, they gotta interview the minority candidate first. But they hired their candidate days before Brian even went in to have the in-face interview. So that proved to him like, yo, they wasn't even sincere. So now he went back in the data and you're like, yeah, when I went over there with the Broncos, this dudes came in there drunk. Yo, they're all gonna deny this. They're gonna say, nah, we didn't do it. The NFL came out with a statement right away. Yo, it took them 18 months to to investigate Deflategate about the balls being deflated by Tom Brady. Yo, in like less than 24 hours, they came back and said his lawsuit had no what? What's the term I'm looking for?
No merit or no
merit.
Yeah,
no merit. In 24 hours, they came out and said they had no merit. How does it have no merit? We just spend the whole time fighting about Kaepernick. No, but go ahead.
I want to say it has no merit because remember, the NFL owners were propped up in the Trump era with Kaepernick, right?
Yes.
When it basically was like, oh yeah, you could kneel, but you're gonna be kneeling on the other side of the stadium, right? So they still have this entitlement and these privileges that Trump provided them, like shut up and the play ball thing. So this is addressing that. There's something else I want to also kind of go back on. You said
Jay-Z and the halftime show.
Oh, Jay-Z is the halftime show.
No. I'm saying.
Yes,
he got Dr. Dre.
We've gone past kneeling. We've superseded that, right, Jay-Z?
Yeah.
So anyway,
my bad.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that. Like that's what I'm saying. This has a lot of tentacles on it. So let's talk about I did watch his interview as well. And he says, I'm from hardworking immigrant parents and everything like that. And I think that there's this idea that majority of the people who are in the NFL who are, what people might say Black Americans or African Americans, like are not hardworking as well. Like, what I'm saying? Like the things that, and I'm saying this is that my parents are from the South. They migrated up to Ohio and then out to LA, right? A lot of the language that is used from the immigrant story of I had nothing, I came up, I enterprised, blah, blah, blah. I was like, that's Black people in the South. That's the Black condition. That's just Black people in America, period. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying in terms of course we were here before slavery. Of course we existed, all these spaces like that. But after this political, social, economic, military force in which we're coming out of these conditions, people started from nothing as well. So it's not a foreign story. It's not a foreign American story, right? And part of I would say, I'm sitting back looking like, I know somebody at some point pulled you to the side and said, brother, you know what I mean? Like this is not going to work. Like, you know how many people worked hard? You know what I'm saying? Like this whole, like, so I want to.
I don't know. I don't know if somebody pulled them over and said,
Really?
but because you got to think of the people that are in this space. Yo,
Really? Okay.
we don't really go out to like, yo, Brian hang around whoever is in his inner circle. He doesn't branches out. Like somebody like me couldn't be in this space.
Right.
Yo, Brian is a millionaire. This ain't no dude that don't have no money. They paid him a couple of millions for him to go coach the Dolphins. Yo, that boy's a millionaire over and over. So it's like, listening to somebody like me in the projects from the hood that's working with kids, that's like, he would never do that. Like these millionaires and billionaires, they're not trying to get no information from us. The only people they're listening to are the people that adhere to the same hegemony in thought. Like that's who is surrounding them. Because anybody like me in that space, it's almost impossible. I mean, so like when they say like, yo, you could have a conversation with these athletes or these people to get them to understand, yo, they're not listening to nobody like us. They're not listening to me. Yo, they'll listen to a Cornell West. See, they'll listen to somebody like that. Somebody, yeah. That's who they would listen to because he has a name. Who else? Michael Eric Dyson. They would like somebody like that will get their ear. Obama. Like LeBron said, he listened to Obama. Like those are the only kind of people those wealthy individuals listen to. So like if somebody told him like, yo, white supremacy kept us in the ghetto, like they put all this roadblocks instead of, he don't want to hear none of that. He made it out on his own merits, on his hard work. He doesn't believe he's an exception to the rule. Nah, he believes it was his hard work. Everybody else didn't work hard enough. That's why they didn't succeed. And his mentor in the back of his mind, he worked harder than everybody else to get what he got. Not he was in the right place, he kissed the right whatever, and he did whatever he had to do to get in there. He doesn't believe in none of that. He got to tell himself psychologically, I earned this. I earned to be here. And we didn't. That's why we're still suffering wherever we at in our little pockets of the world. That's how he goes on by his day. I mean, so it's like, so his liberation is not for all of us. It's for him. It's a class thing. I mean, he wants to enter that class. And I don't know. Because like without the people backing you, without a strong, social critique from the people, these rich oligarchs don't listen. They're just gonna brush the shit aside and it's gonna be gone. Yo, anything that made them have to submit or give an inch, it was because of social pressure. The pressure from the society was so hard that they had to do something about it. But if like, and I don't know, you see, I'm scared. Like I said, it's a good fight that Brian is taking on. But if he doesn't learn how to bring all of us in with him, people are gonna ignore this. I mean, they're gonna be at the halftime show. Snoop is gonna be performing. Dr. Dre is gonna be performing. I think Mary J. Blige is supposed to be there. All these people are gonna be at the halftime show in a week and some change, celebrating while this black man is saying this institution is racist. I mean, that's gonna be what you see. And I haven't heard.
No. What you're saying is so important. This is part of the problem, right? This is part of the problem. This is the dance we do. Always chasing the tail or the snake eating its tail thing, right? So we have this moment. We have these moments where something major can shift. Yeah. Right. This is this. Let me finish the thought. Finish the thought, Kai. Right. But in this moment where something can shift, you will have these gatekeepers who will step in and be the buffer and be the what do you call it when you the bulletproof windshield that does not allow. This is something that has been going on for hundreds of years, right? Or this is a tactic of oppression.
You remember Tiki Barber?
Yes.
He used to play for the Giants. Yes. He came out and said that the ownership is not racist. He already came out and did it. He came out on national TV. He went on that. I think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, all these different people, like they're bringing them out and they're coming out and they're saying that these teams are not racist. They're trying to play media control. The NFL is not racist. Yo, I'm telling you, man, but once again, it's not people in the grassroots. It's not people like you and I. We would never be on that platform. It's people that they've paid, that they've socialized, that they've conditioned to do their bidding. I don't even think they called Tiki and told Tiki Barber, hey, yo, go on there and defend us. Tiki Barber is an ex-Giant, and he knows if he does this, it's an unspoken rule. If you stand for them, if you go back for them, they will give you access. So like in 5-10 years from now, I won't be surprised if Tiki Barber is working inside the Giants organization, or if he's working on a big media station. Like if you're doing, because like they will give you access if you are that black face for them, if you use that skin to work for them. And black leadership do this all the time. From like we could even go, this is the last one. Clyburn did it. Bernie Sanders was about to beat Biden. Clyburn came in and used his black face and threw the election in South Carolina to Biden. They do this all the time in all phases. Even at your job, it's always that one person that's ready to tell, like, this is their company. Everybody that got a job out there, you know there's that one person. They just be snitching for no reason, just snitching to be snitching, because they think they could get access to the bosses. I mean, they go ahead.
And I'm shaking my head over here like, yeah. I mean, you're right.
There's so many ways to go, right?
Yeah,
there's so many ways to go with this.
Like I said, what you said earlier in terms of now there's only one black head coach as opposed to three, when Johnny Cochran in 2002 threatened to sue the NFL. For the record, please do not you. This is for public. Please do not compare Johnny Cochran and Benjamin Crump. They are not.
Oh my God.
I've had, one of my last major interviews was with Johnny Cochran. A lot of people don't know that Johnny Cochran worked pro bono for 27 years in the case of Geronimo G. Jaga Pratt, the Black Panther, right? Who was Tupac's godfather. 27 years.
What's Crump doing? Who is Crump working for free?
The ambulances.
Exactly.
So anyway, yeah. So I just wanted to have that sidebar about how so many talks and so many things that he was in, other than the OJ. He was much more and much bigger than that. Which he said, like he was like that wasn't even that case. It came with good, but it also came with baggage that he wasn't too particular about. But anyway. You said, I lost my train of thought. Let's go back to these entertainers. I want to go back to these court jesters. Entertainers. Oh, okay. We could call them that too. The court jesters. I want to go back to these entertainers. This is an age-old trick. This is an age-old trick. First of all, you call them black leadership. And I don't know anybody to date that majority or a significant portion of black people have said that is my leader. Even Obama. I mean, it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Who is that? So these so-called. So the point is that this halftime show is this sordid gatekeeping that we're talking about. When I was in an entertainment reporter, there would always, this is in the late 90s, early 2000s, rumblings of big names quietly forming black unions for black actors and entertainment and just people all across the industry, the camera folk and everything, right? Quietly forming. And I remember this very clearly. I will not say this person's name because this person is still a working actor. But they said something like this, every time we have enough kind of force to move the agenda, there's always that one black person that comes and accepts that role, that nobody should accept, or takes that job, or gets greenlit to make a horrible buffoonery movie. There's always that one. And so this is an age-old, I don't know what you want to call it, ploy that has been implemented over and over time to your point with Tiki Barber, that the so-called white person, the boogeyman, doesn't even have to go to the slave quarters and say, boy, we need somebody to come. No, people will run up and volunteer, right?
Yes.
No, how how dare that Brian Flores and that Kaepernick, how dare them, boss, what you need me to do, you know?
They don't even ask boss. They already know. It's instinct, it's generational. These things have been sold into the makeup of who we are to survive in the space, in the system, and the space that we are in. You inherit characteristics. Like culture doesn't come overnight. Culture is built over centuries, over millenniums of like people living in a space together and learning how to survive in that space and how to grow. Since bondage, we have inherited things that have been destructive to us as a people. And that's one of them. I mean, whatever field you're in, everybody know that person that will go and run and go do that. I mean, it's not part of the human psychology. I refuse to be like, because when people are born, they're born pure. I have kids. My kids were born with an empty slate. Everything that my kids learn, they learn from the world around them. I mean, so like those people, like they've always been here. But the first thing that happened with Kaepernick was Jay-Z. Jay-Z ran up and came over there, sat down with the NFL. You see, because they look at it, to them, this is an opportunity. They're opportunists. They're capitalizing on the situation. So they run up. But Kaepernick wasn't the first time. When they wanted to build that stadium in Brooklyn, Jay-Z came over there and gave that white billionaire from Russia, he gave them his name. And he told the people in Brooklyn, like, I'm owning the team. We're owning the team. Somebody that grew up from this space is going to be on. Man, he owned less than 1% of that team. But they use his name to get the people in that space to, to give them credibility, to allow that project to go through. And after the project go through, Jay-Z is not a part owner of the Nets anymore. Those people lost their homes. They never got jobs. Everything that those people predicted happened. And Jay-Z walked away with a bag. When Kaepernick happened, the NFL was on the ropes. The NFL was on the ropes. They were staggering. Jay-Z came in and he used his face and his slang and his history of being from our community.
Being from Brooklyn, the very community
from being from Brooklyn. Yeah,
that he
Brian is
bartered
from.
out. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And he went over there and he cut Kaepernick. Because when he went and did that, it took a little bit of the steam away. People may want to admit it or not. But now this coach has came out and put out this class action lawsuit. They're not all coming around him. I don't see no statements from any entertainers, from any of these politicians, from anybody standing with Brian. But they're going to come at halftime and they're going to perform at the halftime show, like Malcolm X said, like Novocaine, to put you to sleep while you're suffering. They're going to sing us to sleep, rap us to sleep, while these white people are up there, these white owners are up there in the boxes looking down at the black Negroes down there mutilating themselves for them to get wealthy. Because like, I don't care what anybody says, football, basketball, ain't none of these sports so beautiful, eloquent that people, no, it has nothing to do with beauty. There's nothing beautiful about somebody putting a ball in a hole. It's a sport. It's a childish game that distracts people from the reality that they deal with on a daily basis. And it gives people a sense of identity. If you ever met a Dallas Cowboy fan, you know what I mean. They're the most annoying fans on the planet of the earth. But you can't say nothing to Dallas fans.
And Philadelphia Eagles fans.
They don't care because it is an identity to be fans of those teams. I mean, and they prey on that. Our people prey on our people. When they go to the halftime show, it's just another menstrual show. Stiff and fetch it. That's all they're doing, trying to distract people. I mean, and Snoop is all over. Snoop has millions of people looking at what he's saying, but they're not using that space to do nothing productive. Dr. Dre, he gave money. What he gave money to school in California?
USC, University of Southern California.
You know what? We always talk about what's wrong, whatever. If all these people put their money together, they could build institutions in our communities. I mean, I could do all this talking all day. I could critique them all day, but I don't have the resources to build institutions in our communities. They have it. They have the platforms to reach our people. Because part of organizing is being able to reach people. They can reach our people. They don't need these companies, but they will never come together and organize to liberate our people because there's a price to pay. Like, doing the work you do, from watching your parents grow up. I know from my life, as we speaking right now, they're trying to kick Patience, my wife, out of the building she live in because she's helping tenants fight back against the ownership. They kick people out of their homes for because they didn't recertify. So they come in and they put a lock on your door. You come home in the afternoon and your door is padlocked. Now you don't have nowhere to go. That's illegal. You can't padlock nobody's door. It has to go through the system. The sheriff department got to come. They bypass all of that and they lock people out of their apartments. Patients go help them get back in their apartment. Now the building is retaliating against Patience, my wife, and they're telling her she's going to have to leave the building. They made up a whole bunch of lies. But this is the penalties. I'm just giving you a microcosm, but these are the penalties you deal with when you fight against the system. And people don't want to fight against the system. They don't want to lose their homes. They don't want to lose their paycheck. They're worried about themselves. So this stuff is going to continue to happen. And when they bring reform like the Rooney Rule, where like they bring the body cameras, they're like the Rooney, you got to go interview. We got to interview minority candidates. Then they pick the people, don't even interview them. And like, it doesn't matter to these people. They still keep going up with these different reforms because they want to believe the system can be made right, despite the countless evidence after countless evidence that you can reform the system. Those owners all have to go. They gotta go. You already gave them a warning. You already spoke to them. They came up with the Rooney Rule. 20 years later, almost a generation later, they still changed nothing. It's one. It's less than, it used to be 3. Now it's 1. So you're going backwards. So what you going to sit down at the table and talk to them about? You're going to talk to them and tell them, you know what? You got another 20 years to have maybe two coaches. Nah, take those teams from them. And I'm going by law. I'm not saying like just run in there and take these teams from them. If you have a business that's practiced racist practices and is documented, that business can be shut down by the federal government. This is not euphemism, it's real. And they refuse, the politicians, all these people are in cahoots with these billionaires. So they're not listening to what the people want. The billionaires believe they could do whatever they want and get away with it. And until our people say like, let's walk away from their football game. Let's walk away from their basketball game. Let's go create our own. Until we decide to do that, nothing is going to change. It's going to be the same thing over and over. They killed another kid in Minnesota, right?
Yes, the no-knock, was it the 21, 22-year-old?
22-year-old laying in his couch, well, not his couch, at a friend's couch, laying on the couch. The police kicked the door in, kicked the chair, and they killed him. They said he had a gun. So what, he got a gun? You wasn't looking for him? So now if I got a gun in my own house or in my friend's house and I'm laying on a couch with a gun, you can come in and kill me. It's deep. But you're gonna hear this black folks that say,
with the no-knock warrant, which is that you just kick the door down. They
had a key. They had a key. How did they get a key to their apartment? They had a no-knock warrant. So the ownership of the building must have gave the police, the state, the key to go and open that door. And they opened that door because they wasn't looking for that boy. The warrant that they had wasn't for him. You walk in there and you snuff out a life. You snuff that life out. It's everywhere, man. This system is corrosive. But like in the NFL, it's not as vivid as a bullet, as somebody is shooting you with a bullet. What they did to Kaepernick was like a bullet. They took away his ability to make financial resources in the socio-economic world. But we don't treat that as violence. We treat somebody snatching a chain, robbing somebody. You see, that's violence. We treat that as violence. But somebody taking away wealth, destroying generations of black families, the society doesn't show that. The media, nobody shows that as violence. And these people are violent. Their whole way of living. And when I say these people, I'm talking about the people that dictate and control society, the oligarchs. If you agree with them, then you're with them. because they run the society and how the society is maintained. I'm not, if you out in Mississippi, Oklahoma, Texas, California, I don't know you. I don't know nothing about you. So when I say these people are violent, I'm talking about the people that have been documented through history to be evil, violent people, and they never get held accountable. None of them are ever held accountable. Yo, when was the last time they had a no-knock warrant for somebody that's a millionaire, a billionaire, that's inside their mansion, for all the money they steal, all the tax stuff they're doing? If you owe the federal government taxes, they are coming to your house with a no-knock warrant to come get your ass. But they ain't never going to go get these people because they own the politicians. I mean, and this is what's different from listening to me and listening to somebody else that's trying to enter the industry, trying to be part of their company. Like the stuff I'm saying, I can say if I want to go work at CNN, if I want to work at MSNBC, if I want a job on one of them big platforms, I can say none of the stuff I see in the books that I'm reading. I mean, so it's like, you got to decide. You got to decide what side you're on. Sooner or later, you have to make up your mind and say who you stick with. Either you're going to stick with your people, what you know, or you're going to conform to fit into the system. That's all our choice. Because sooner or later, that choice is represented to us. I mean, and this is where we at. This is where we at, sis. We decided to fight.
No, those are some really good points. And and as the story goes, even when you think that you're socialized and you're in the in crowd, you will be told, or your children will be told, that's not the case.
But we suspended for 2 weeks.
Monique told you. Monique told you. Didn't listen to Monique.
Okay? You'll be suspended for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks when you step out of line. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's this is ongoing, but this is just another dance in the day with dealing with the injustices and inequities of what we live in.
If you want to see good news, you don't see on regular TV, from another perspective, something relative to your needs. And we gonna have deep subjects, and we gonna turn the lens. And there's no topic we won't skip, so please don't miss weekly, Tune in to weekly to check in, weekly check.